Well, thank you so much. It's an interesting time to be at the Nairobi Securities Exchange amid the pandemic. Nairobi Securities Exchange is also under new leadership of Kiprono Kittony, who's the chairman. Thank you so much for making time for us today, and congratulations for your new post. How is it so far?
Thank you very much, Linda. It is, like you said, an interesting time. And they say that every challenge has an equal solution. So I hope that we shall have the solutions to meet these very unique challenges that are facing economies globally.
How is the general performance of the Nairobi bourse?
Interestingly enough, I think we have proven that we are a very sound technological platform. And this year, we've actually not seen a very huge loss. If you look at our all-share index and our 20-share index, we've had very marginal losses. I mean, it's not as bad as other aspects of the economy. As you know, 70% of our traded securities are foreign traded. And I would say that we have proven to be resilient. And I think it's also good for Kenyans to know that they have a good avenue to invest in a resilient bourse. Corporate governance, a cornerstone of the future of the exchange. And we want to really ensure that the companies that are listed in the exchange are operating at the highest level of corporate governance. We've seen a significant amount of corporate failures in the last few years. Companies like Nakomat that floated bonds that were not able to secure. We've seen Imperial Bank and others. And for us, we think that we are putting in place all the necessary building blocks to ensure that corporate governance and ethical practice are paramount. And we have our self-regulatory committee in the exchange, and we also have market watch mechanisms. And we will be doing everything that we can in collaboration with the Capital Markets Authority to really ensure that companies are operating at the highest level of corporate.
Do you encourage retail market participation so far?
Retail market is like any other market. I mean, it goes through ups and downs. I mean, retail businesses globally are facing challenges. You've seen some of the major high street brands in London and in New York, in Paris, suffer corporate failure this year. I have nothing against retail business. I just think that we need to ensure that companies are operating with sound financials and that there is enough market discovery and that measures, in the event that companies go through stress, that sufficient measures are taken to see that they can be turned around.
You came in at a time where the pandemic is ravaging the sector. How do you intend to take this to the next level amid this crucial time?
You know, there's many plans that we have. One of the things that we want to do is ensure that we can persuade one of the key stakeholders, which is the government of Kenya, on state-owned enterprises that need to list. Thankfully, Kenya has got many companies that are owned or controlled majority by the state, and we would like to persuade the states to bring some of those companies on board. We are looking at businesses like Kenya Pipeline. We are looking at businesses in the infrastructure sector, in the agricultural sector, many other businesses. And we believe that we are able to help government raise up to 230 billion shillings through state-owned enterprise listing. Ask for more sell down. I mean, the government of Kenya owns major shares in significant shareholding in Kengen, in Safaricom, in Kenya Commercial Bank, and we think that they can do a further sell down. And you see, obviously, you know that Kenya government has got a very high debt portfolio. And if today we can raise up to 230 to 300 billion shillings, that would easily wipe out 5% of our national debt. Focus on privately held companies. There's very many successful privately owned companies that have scale, and we want to go and persuade the ownership of these businesses. Look at the value propositions that we are giving to them, the tax exemptions and the other advantages of listing, and persuade them to join the market. Even family-owned enterprises. I mean, there's very many. I mean, look at Keroche Breweries, look at Nakom, Bidco. There's many family-owned businesses that warrant to be in this market to broaden the shareholding and give opportunity for the shareholders to realize other novel ways of raising capital.
Well-placed, ambitious plans there. And what are your fears now?
You know, my fears obviously are that the economy continues to soften because of the challenges of COVID. I mean, there's going to be there is already quite a lot of corporate failure arising from COVID. You've seen businesses in the hospitality industry, the airlines that are in serious distress, the retail companies that are seriously distressed, educational businesses that are seriously distressed. It worries me that if this downward trajectory continues, then you're going to have a very big socio-economic impact on the country, where a lot of people have lost their livelihoods. And obviously that doesn't bode well for the broader economy. My second fear that I want to talk about, obviously, is the national debt. Our CS National Treasury, Mr. Yattani, 2 days ago, addressing Parliament, indicated that our national debt is up to 7.1 trillion shillings. I mean, 7.1 trillion shillings is not a shilling or two. And obviously that presents a significant challenge, not just to our generation, but in generations to come, in terms of how we will be able to redeem that liability. However, the good news is that a lot of the money that the government has borrowed has also gone into long-term projects, infrastructural projects, of which the return is not instantaneous.
What do you recommend on what the government should do in stemming that ballooning debt?
I think, firstly, that we need to use long-term debt for long-term projects. I think if you look at the last 10 years, the government has been using a lot of short-term debt, even for long-term projects. And then the third thing, and this one I think is perhaps the most controversial, is I think that we have since the new constitution was promulgated, we've seen the size of government balloon to a size that actually perhaps is not tenable. And I do hope that the political leadership are really addressing themselves to that issue. We need to have an overhead that is sustainable.
And a quick one maybe before I let you go. What do you think can hinder the progress of some of your objectives here?
Very good question. One is it's 2021, and the elections are supposed to be in 2022. The government is the most important stakeholder in terms of helping us realize some of these bold ambitions that we have. But you know what happens with politics. People lose focus. When the country gets into the political mood, then we might not be able to get the attention that we require to make some of these things happen. I mean, last week, the dollar traded at 115. I mean, that's unprecedented. I mean, it's 15% higher than it was 3 months ago. So that has a lot of economic ramifications. When we think we are getting out of the woods, we seem to get deeper into the woods. So, I mean, if all establishments continue to operate on 30, 40% for the next 1 year, I mean, God knows what the business landscape, what the employment landscape, what the livelihoods landscape, what the poverty index of this country will be at the end of next year. So those are some of the things that are really of concern.
Thank you so much for making time for us. That's all we had for today.
Thank you, Linda.